What's up everybody, Brian Earhart here with Team Discraft. You're watching another episode of Level Up. Today, we're gonna be talking about something in the world of disc golf that's kind of hard to quantify, and that is the concept of developing touch. Let's get into it. Touch and finesse, especially when it applies to approach shots, is what separates the best players in the world from the ones chasing them. If you have a lot of power, but you're not able to get up and down from an uncomfortable position that you've never seen before, you'll bleed strokes on the disc golf course and you'll consistently cost yourself victories. Today, I want to talk about two big parts of developing touch and getting better at those approach shots from those shorter distances that you might feel like you can't throw soft enough. First, I'm going to talk about how we can remove levers from our shorter approach shots to make our body positioning a bit more consistent. And I also want to talk about the concept of just improving overall coordination and getting better at speeding up and slowing down our approaches while still keeping our timing together. First, I want to talk about simplifying our body position, especially on these shorter, pesky approaches. A lot of players that I've worked with have expressed frustration from the distance of 100 to 180 feet. As close as that is to the basket, a lot of times it's just outside of a comfortable jump putt range, and it gets into this zone where we have to use more of our body to get the disc to the basket. Everybody has an automatic zone, I like to call it, where you could close your eyes, snap your wrist, ignore all bits of form, and put a disc under the basket 5 times out of 5. Whether that's 30 feet, 50 feet, 150 feet, you can ignore everything that you've ever learned and just play catch with your target. It's very important, especially when practicing approach shots, to find that zone and try not to do too much with it. So when we get to that automatic zone, let's not think. Let's just go from point A to point B. The tricky portion of throwing approaches comes just after that automatic zone. What do I do with my body when I just can't quite have enough power to get the disc to the basket? A lot of times the biggest problem that I see players make is when they get past that automatic zone and they feel like they have to throw the disc to the basket rather than putt or jump putt, is they use way too many levers in their throw. Obviously, there's a lot of things that help us propel a backhand forward. Our legs, our hips, our torso, our shoulders, our elbow, our forearm, wrist, fingers, whatever. All those levers get used in a powerful backhand throw. So what I see most often is when a player does get just outside of that automatic zone and they do have to start worrying more about their body position and their technique, is they go from a very shortened motion to using every lever in the backhand throw. Their legs, their hips, their shoulders, their elbow, their forearm, everything gets utilized right outside that zone, and they don't need to do that. The biggest mistake I see is players for a very short approach will reach all the way back here and then try to throw, but then soft the disc at the last second. They have this big motion, but then last second they slow down and try to throw. It usually results in chaos. And it's a very common problem because we're taught technique when we first learn disc golf. We're taught how our body is supposed to move. But again, with touch, a lot of times we don't need that entire motion. We just need to send the object a short distance. So what we can do instead of having every lever is we can talk about maybe adding one lever to the throw. So whereas before maybe you're jump putting and you're more facing your target from 100 feet or so, maybe we'll turn sideways to our target and we'll start utilizing our legs a little bit in the throw. Maybe instead though of getting our legs through and adding the entire lever of our back shoulder and our leg following through, we only add the lever of our legs shifting, and maybe we just leave the ground like that. And we just add one lever. So that's what you need to start doing and worrying about as we move farther and farther back. We don't need to go from 50% to 100%. We can go from 50% to 60%. And then maybe when you get a bit farther, you can worry about the lever of your shoulder coming through the shot and that back leg following through. So there is a zone where it's a bit of a half throw, half putt, where you don't have to have everything utilized. All right, so we're gonna work our way from the basket back to find where that automatic zone truly is for us. Where is that position where we can kind of ignore all biomechanics of the backhand throw and just snap our wrist and get it to the basket. So say I have a 35-foot putt and I wanna lay it up into the basket. I'm not gonna turn my body and use an entire swing. So I'm gonna remove a lot of the big levers, and obviously I'm gonna face the basket. I'm gonna remove that lever of my legs. My hips are gonna be square to the basket. My shoulders are gonna be square. And in this position, I'm just gonna kind of push a disc, get it under the basket, and not worry about all these other variables. To get it a little bit farther, so say we wanna go 60 feet, 70 feet to the basket. A lot of players go from a standard putt back to some sort of jump putt or step putt, where really you're putting and all you're doing is letting your body continue through the lie. So whether you jump putt or you step putt, that's what you're doing. So for me, if I'm laying up 70 feet away, I'm doing a very similar throw. I'm just gonna throw the disc that way and let my body follow through after I release. Eventually, we're gonna get to a point where we can't jump putt or standing putt to the basket. That's the zone where a lot of players begin thinking they have to turn their body and utilize every lever, full reach back, full swing. But really, all we have to do is just add another lever. So if we turn our body sideways, we now have a little bit of motion coming from our legs, but we don't have to fully follow through the backhand shot. Say we get to 100 feet, that's still not that far away from the basket. So we can have that same little throw. We don't have to turn all the way with our shoulders. All we really need to do is lean back a little bit, push forward, and snap our wrist. We don't have to swing. We can kind of kick our leg back. So we can do something like this from 100 feet. Maybe we get to 100, 150 feet this time. We need to add a little bit more distance to the throw. Let's add another lever. Let's add, when we throw, let's add maybe our elbow a little bit more engaged so we get that forearm extension. It's not as much of a push as it is actually rotating into the shot. So we're gonna get our elbow up a little bit more. We're gonna turn a little bit and we're gonna throw the shot this way. So we're gonna be here. See how I didn't follow through all the way through the shot? I don't wanna get all of my body weight through yet. Now we get back to our standstill threshold where maybe it's 250, 300. Then we do add all of our levers. The big thing that I wanna make sure players know though, when we're trying to put all of our power into a standstill throw, we don't reach. I said this in our distance video. You should go watch that if you haven't. It was a fantastic video with a lot of insight from other players as well. But the biggest thing that I see players do when their feet are standing still is they don't move back and create extension here. They simply move back and bring the disc back here. We don't want that. We're not throwing the disc from back here. We're throwing the disc from here and rotating. So when we want to get all of our levers into the shot, we move back, we turn our shoulders, and we rotate. And that's how we get everything through the shot. That's how we throw a full power standstill shot. It should look roughly like this. That might go in. That's perfect. If you routinely work through these different distances to find where your pain points are, it's important to go to those pain points and work through them. Work on removing or adding different levers to your throw to find what body position works best for you from those distances. A lot of times, a couple mistakes from that distance per round can add up over the course of a tournament. So this can really help shave strokes off your tournament rounds. So going alongside of what I had just said about finding your pain point with a standstill approach and working through those distances, it's very important to also do that with a full approach, to check to see what speeds your upper and lower body have a tough time staying synced at. So something that I like to do is playing practice rounds, and everything outside of a putt I'm taking a full approach for. My goal is to keep my upper and lower body synced, keep my timing tight, and don't compromise my technique while I'm slowing down as much as I need to. A lot of people have 1 or 2 different speeds that they like to take a full approach to throw a backhand with. And if you work through all sorts of different speeds, you'll find one that's very uncomfortable for you. So working through all sorts of different speeds can only help you get better at those uncomfortable positions and make you a better player. So if you do think that you struggle with your timing a bit, we refer to it in more detail in my X-Step deep dive video. We also refer to it a bit in our More Distance Now 2.0 video in the same series. All right, a quick recap. Number 1, work on adding and removing different levers from your backhand throw when you get to those distances that might seem in between a traditional jump putt and a regular throw of the disc. And number 2, for long-term coordination improvement, practice throwing backhands with a full X-step approach from slow speeds all the way up to as fast as you can possibly go. Practicing different tempos with your backhand while still keeping your timing tight is always going to make you a better thrower over the long term, and it's going to give you better coordination and better touch. Thank you again for tuning in, everybody. As always, leave a comment down below and let us know what distance you're working on right now in your game. We will see you next time.